What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. And today we are going over 10 things Marvel wants you to forget about Avengers Endgame. And before we do get on the video, I want to say 3 things. Number 1, there will be spoilers. That is obvious. If you did not see that coming, I don't know what to tell you. Number 2, if you didn't watch the movie yet, what are you doing? You are slacking. Go watch the movie. It's still in theaters. It's about to hit $2.8 billion or whatever the money is at. I don't know. I don't know what the box office is at. And number 3, I am a fan of the movie. I enjoyed it, but there are some plot holes. So if you did get mad, I don't know what to tell you. Calm down. It's not that serious. Leave a dislike. Leave a bad comment. I don't care. Just let the algorithm see that this video is engaging. All right? Now let's get on the list with number 10, Captain Marvel's underwhelming role. After watching the end credits scene of Infinity War, fans were expecting Captain Marvel to play an extremely important role in Endgame because she was the first person Nick Fury contacted when he noticed that everyone was turning into dust. Unfortunately, Endgame underutilized her by not giving her a prominent role that she deserved to have. Kevin Feige even confirmed that she is the strongest character in the MCU and could do a lot of damage to Thanos, yet that wasn't enough of a reason to prevent her from having only 15 minutes of screen time. In the beginning of the movie, it may have seemed that she was going to have a lot of screen time because she was immediately shown saving the day by bringing Iron Man and Nebula back to Earth, but that wasn't the case. After Captain Marvel's short interaction with the Avengers, she announces that she's going to head to different planets to see if anyone else needs help, which was basically Marvel finding a way to explain why she doesn't end up time traveling through the quantum realm with the other Avengers. Captain Marvel may have had an epic entrance in the final battle scene, but that doesn't change the fact that her role was underwhelming and disappointing because she missed such a huge portion of the movie. Number 9, the conversation between Hulk and the Ancient One. When Hulk attempts to convince the Ancient One to give him the Time Stone, he figures out that it's going to be more difficult than he originally thought because she reveals that giving away the stone will only cause disruptions in the branches of the timelines. Even when Hulk promises that he will make sure all the stones are returned at the same exact time when they were taken, she still refuses to give up the Time Stone. As soon as Hulk mentions how Doctor Strange willingly gave Thanos the Time Stone, she realized that Strange would only have given Thanos the stone for a reason. The Ancient One decided to trust her future successor by entrusting Hulk with the Time Stone. The Ancient One even claims that Doctor Strange is meant to be the best of them, but that goes against the way she treated him in the standalone movie. If the Ancient One knew just how powerful Doctor Strange would become in the future, why did she have doubts as to whether she would even train him? Of course, fans can rightfully argue that she was only pretending to not know him, so she wouldn't affect the progression of events. Number 8, Captain America's shield. At the end of the movie, Captain America returns to the same spot he entered the quantum realm so he could give Falcon his shield, indicating that he believes Sam is worthy of becoming the next Captain America. Because this moment felt so heartwarming and genuine, fans forgot about the fact that there's no explanation as to how Steve found another shield. In the final battle, Thanos slashes away at Captain America's vibranium shield, breaking off large chunks of it until it's about half of its original size. Some fans assume that he stole his own shield while his younger self was still in ice. Now, let's be real, that's just super messed up, Captain. But then that would mean the Captain America of that timeline is missing his greatest asset, and that doesn't make sense either. Also, it would defeat the purpose of Captain America making sure that there are no disruptions in the other timeline by returning all the stones to their rightful place. Since he's aware of the problems that could potentially arise by bringing a valuable item from one timeline to another, it's difficult to believe that he would be willing to steal his own shield from his own self, who's a younger self in ice. There's a lot of selves going on. To prevent this plot from existing, the writers could have provided the audience with a brief explanation and simply say that Captain America somehow managed to find someone who was capable of making a vibranium shield that closely resembled his old one. Simple 101 booking, Marvel. Come on, just saying. Number 7, Ronin Disappointment. Endgame opened up perfectly with a heartbreaking scene of Hawkeye's family turning into dust, which served the purpose of helping the audience understand why he ended up becoming a ruthless killer known as Ronin. While the Avengers were looking for ways to undo the snap during the 5-year period, Hawkeye was killing gang members who survived the snap because he felt they all deserved to die instead of the innocent people. Though Endgame does a really good job at showing Hawkeye punishing criminals in an attempt to deal with the pain of losing his family, it fails at explaining how he was able to pull himself out of the darkness. After having one conversation with Black Widow, Hawkeye instantly realized that he should not have spent all those years killing people. I don't know how Black Widow did it, but she somehow is convincing. Not only does Black Widow easily convince Hawkeye to join the Avengers, but she also quickly forgives him despite the fact that she just witnessed what he was capable of doing in Japan. He reunited with his family in the end of the movie, completely forgetting that he was literally a killer who showed no mercy to those people he attacked. Hawkeye's development from a cold-hearted killer to a hero learning from his mistake was not given the proper amount of time it deserved because the movie had a lot to cover in the span of 3 hours. Number 6, Professor Hulk. Many fans wanted to see Hawkeye become Ronin at some point in the MCU, the same way they wanted to see the Hulk become Professor Hulk, but unfortunately they both did not live up to the expectations people had. Throughout the MCU, Bruce Banner struggled to find peace and balance between himself and the Hulk, especially since he knew how difficult it was to control his aggression once he turned into the Hulk. According to Joe Russo, one of the directors of the Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, it even got to the point where Hulk refused to allow Banner to transform him because he was getting sick and tired of only being used for strength. It seemed like Marvel was building up a storyline between Banner and the Hulk, realizing that they need each other, but that all changed when Professor Hulk was introduced. In the years that followed the events of Infinity War, Banner started to see the Hulk as a cure to problems instead of a disease in need of curing. His 18-month-long transformation into his current form, which combined his intelligence with Hulk's strength, helped him accept his life. This could have been a great storyline, but unfortunately Professor Hulk was mostly used for comedic purposes and he felt extremely rushed because fans didn't get a chance to see Banner learning how to be in control while he's the Hulk. Number 5, Thor fat shaming. During the 5-year period, Thor lived in New Asgard as he tried to deal with the trauma and guilt of not being able to kill Thanos before he snapped his fingers. As Thor fell into deep depression and alcoholism, he would spend most of his time drinking, playing video games, and neglecting his own people. Thor's new unhealthy lifestyle also cost him most of his strength, leaving him overweight and sufficiently weak. Marvel attempts to make an empowering storyline by showing that Thor can be seen as a hero even when he's depressed, which is exactly what they do when they realize that he's still worthy of holding the Mjolnir. But that moment wasn't strong enough to make up for all the fat shaming jokes. Even though the Russo brothers didn't mean to include any offensive jokes in Endgame, some fans were so upset about the fat shaming jokes that it actually became the most controversial part of the movie. They didn't like how there were moments when Thor was being treated like a joke because it shows that he was overweight for the sole purpose of making the audience laugh. Also, they felt like Marvel missed the perfect opportunity to represent a body size that typically isn't seen in superhero movies because these characters are expected to be muscular. Number 4, the first gay character in the MCU. In addition to making fat-shaming jokes, Endgame spurred up some controversy because the LGBTQ community felt like the Russo brothers were doing the bare minimum when they included a short cameo to introduce the first gay character in the MCU. When there were rumors going around about a gay character in Endgame, people were expecting Marvel to reveal that a major superhero like Captain Marvel was coming out, which is why they were disappointed when they saw what actually happened. Near the beginning of the movie, Captain America goes to a support group and speaks to a man who lost his boyfriend after the snap. In order to provide him with some comfort, Captain America lets him know that he has to be brave and continue going on dates with other men. The scene was so short that if you blinked, you probably would have missed it. Similar to the fat shaming situation, the Russo brothers were not expecting this moment to anger fans because they only wanted to make the LGBTQ fans feel like they were being represented on the big screen. Unfortunately, some fans took it the wrong way and thought the Russo brothers should have made a more prominent gay character. Number 3, the lack of women's screen time. As previously mentioned in the video, Captain Marvel, who is supposedly the strongest superhero in the MCU, only received 15 minutes out of a movie that was 3 hours long. What's even more disappointing is the fact that the men had a total of 381 minutes of screen time, whereas the women only had 160 minutes. Black Widow, who is the only woman a part of the original 6 Avengers, was given 33 minutes of screen time, which amounts to about half of the screen time that Captain America and Iron Man had. Of course, this is only because she had to sacrifice herself for the Soul Stone, but it still feels a little odd to know that Black Widow and Nebula were the only female characters who received over 30 minutes of screen time. The shot of all the women in the MCU working together to attack Thanos' army feels super epic until you realize that they should have spent more time interacting with one another. Though many fans love that scene, some of them believe that Marvel only included it in Endgame so that people would ignore the lack of women's screen time and completely forget that it took 21 movies just to make a solo film starring a woman. Number 2, Black Widow's plot hole. Before the Avengers time travel through the quantum realm, they separate themselves into subgroups and assign Black Widow and Hawkeye the task of obtaining the Soul Stone. Black Widow and Hawkeye confidently show up to Vormir thinking that they will get the Soul Stone and leave without a scratch, not knowing that only one of them can walk away with the stone while the other will have to make the ultimate sacrifice to save the world. For some reason, Nebula didn't think it was important at all to mention that Thanos was only able to get the stone by killing Gamora, even though she was involved in planning the mission. Nebula could have possibly prevented Black Widow's death by letting her know that someone must make a sacrifice if they want to receive the stone, but that's only a small part of the plot hole. The bigger question is, how exactly did Hawkeye get the stone if it was less of him making a sacrifice and more of Black Widow sacrificing herself? Plus, it may seem a little strange knowing that this would mean Hawkeye loves Black Widow the most, considering that they haven't even seen each other in a long time. Number 1, Captain America's plot hole. From the very beginning of the movie, Banner establishes the rule of time traveling and claims that past events cannot be modified to change the present. However, messing with the past will create a different timeline. The Russo brothers may have not directly told the audience what Steve did once he finished returning all the stones to their proper place, but it's safe to assume that he married Peggy and lived his life in a different timeline. With that being said, if Steve decides to live his life in this new timeline he just formed, then how exactly did he manage to be in the same timeline as the Avengers? Some fans attempted to defend this plot hole by coming up with the theory that Steve traveled to the MCU timeline using the suit and Pym particles, but that doesn't explain how he appeared on the bench instead of coming out of the quantum realm. There are other fans who believe that he's always been in the MCU timeline, which still doesn't make sense because it would mean that he had spent his lifetime not helping the Avengers when they needed him the most. The Russo brothers would probably want you to forget about this massive plot hole and instead focus on how they provided fans with a satisfying ending for Captain America's arc. Anyways, that is it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to leave a like or a dislike if you didn't. I don't really care. Leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.